Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
One of the things to consider when we speak about going to space is what do we define the space as? And what do we see or what we consider as a space? We take a space in our physical body on this planet, and at the same time, within the structure of our physical body, there is another dimension of life which we call the soul of the man. And even though it lives within the space dimensions of the body of the man, has its own life and has its own line of communication. And what we define space, going to space, we already know the inner sanctum or the creator of our physicality travels the depth of the universe, has been the space travel all the time, has a line of communication with other parts of us, be it through dream we call it, or through subconscious, some people they call it, or we have the choice that physically move the physicality with its soul. In a way, we have a bird caged in the physicality of the body of man, and that bird is called the soul of the man. We can open that cage and let it loose at the point of death. When the operation of this cage rots away, and it cannot hold together, and this beautiful bird becomes free. Still, it takes life in the universal dimension, because it has a life. It exists on its own. Or we can carry the cage in a box and take it anywhere. I can take a bird cage in the car, I can take a bird cage in my hand and walk around the park. It doesn't change the entity and existence of that bird. Still a bird, still sings, still communicates with other birds in the park. And this is how our soul is. So we give option. Those who understand the process of the creation can take that cage, that bird, out of the cage and free it, because we trusted it come back in. It's very much when you have a parrot at home, you open the door, you let him fly around the house, and he comes back again and he goes in the cage. Because you trust it. It knows that's where it belongs to. And this is the process that we have made an option to man. The soul of the man is that bird, but is encaged in physicality of body of man. And for the first time, man knows, man can see that it's him who hasn't trusted the bird to be freed. And it has come the time that he does not need to see the cage to break up, to rust, that the bird can fly out, or by accident open the cage's door is open and the bird flies out. That accident is when we die on the street. The bird cage opens up. That bird still gets freed. But now we are teaching how the man has control over this door of the cage. And he trusts that the soul will come back to the body. Or the bird will stay, that it can create that atmosphere of the home, the cage. This is the problem we have, and this is what we call it different ways of traveling. But to be able to free that bird without accident, or when the cage cracks, rust, and we call it death, we are teaching how to be able to control, to trust that that bird, when we release it, can come home, or can make a home that we can go to. When my children were young, 4 or 5 years old, they wanted a bird, a cockatoo. I bought them a cockatoo. And this bird in the cage was very young, few weeks old when we got him. And we used to let it free in the house. He knew he goes back in and he sleeps there and he lays egg there. And it came to the point, because of the diseases carried, we had to, the doctors told us, this bird cannot stay in the house because it's causing problem in the house, health problems. So we decided that we love the bird. We didn't want to let it go, it was part of us. So we decided, if we let it free, it will die, because he didn't know how to look after himself, because he was hand-fed. We decided we'd take him to a sanctuary, and we give it to a sanctuary to be kept. We carry the cage across a park, looking to go to the sanctuary in the park to be given to them. An old lady saw us, says, "Oh, what a beautiful bird." We said, "We have a problem, we love him, but if you leave him here, we don't know if you see him." She says, "I'll look after it, give it to me. You can come and see it anytime you like." And it was just like a gift. So we got the old lady in the car, we went to her house, we put the cage there, we showed them how to look after the bird, and the bird was free again in the room. And every now and then, children said, "Papa, can we go and see him?" So we called the lady, we go and see him, and the bird is there. And it was a new home, it was our home. And this is how the soul of the man should be. Is trusting that where he goes, he can make a home for us. So in this process, we are teaching different ways of freeing the bird, or carrying the cage. The bird is still there. If you want to carry a cage and go somewhere, you get in the car. That's your spaceship. Still the cage is there and the bird inside. The cage is the body of the man and the bird is the soul of the man. Because we haven't trusted that we get the bird back. We carry the cage in the spaceship. Or there is another line of teaching, which is the understanding the structure of the cage, that you can make the cage not to rot, that then it frees the bird, but it can open up and you can carry the bird is free, you don't need to fuel it, you don't need to do anything, it travels the space of the room, the space of the garden, the space of the city, and it comes back home again. In a way, when we teach about the soul of the man, is in getting the man to trust himself. And to trust himself, he has to become detached. He has to come detached from physicality, detached from the wealth, detached from everything else. That the wealth is within me, not belonging to me. And this is where every man makes a mistake. In many of the teachings I have referred, if you understand that you can put the soul of the man to act with the soul of physicality of the man, you can make anything you like. The soul of the man is the sun, and the soul of physicality in the palm of the hand of the man is the earth. You move it in the direction, you create water, you create food, but you don't need to have it. It creates the energy that the physicality of the man can absorb. We give the earth in the hand, in the palm of the man. He creates what he needs, he takes what he needs from it. Then, if you understand this, you allow the soul of the man to carry the soul of the physicality of the man with it, and whenever it comes, it makes that hand, that palm, 1,000 meter, 1 meter, in a cage of physicality or in a cage of non-dimension. So it's not methods of flight, it's the method of man understanding his own potential, his own grace. So because we have so many people who are so physically attached, we teach about the spaceship for years. This is what it was. They still wanted to see they can get into something. But, as I said, I teach for the universe, not for the man. What we teach in the dimension of soul of the man, many travelers of the universe which hear the soul of me are educated, they understand what they missed. But, as this is the last time we bring a messenger on earth, we teach everything for mankind to carry. All the rules are in the book. There shall be no more messages. It's for man to translate knowledge. Scientifically, and then through the understanding of the soul of the man. What we call theology, ethics. Ethics of using the science in a way that does not harm no one, but it implies and applies the survival of the others. I was talking about this a few days ago, that there is a paper written by me, the station of the scientist as a prophet. The prophets we call Muhammad, Christ or anybody, are for the soul of the man, conduct of the behavior. Scientists like beautiful Tesla and others are to elevate the same, but the physicality of the man. This time we have put the two together in one go, then there is no difference. We teach the ethics, the soul conduct and physicality. It's for the man to understand where the two merge and when it's needed to be done. The totality which counts, not the individuality. What you can serve counts, not what serves you. So in this way, if you are physical, we have given you the spaceship, all these reactors. If you have moved in the dimension of understanding part of it, you have the dynamic system, you get some energies, you put a glass of water, you mix the energy and something else together, you're still the camel bird. You put the orange, take the energy, but you still want that the physicality that you're doing something with it, you drink the water. And for the soul of those who understand the totality, then they don't need the cage. They're the free bird. And this is the essence of all the teaching. It's not different ways of flight, is understanding the existence of the universe. Then if you travel with a spaceship, who do you see? The citizens of the universe in a physical dimension. If you travel with the soul that you can create the physicality, you take that out of the equation. You travel, but you know you have connection with everybody. It's very much, as I said once, it's like you get out of London and you go to New York. You're there on your own, but you still pick your phone and speak to the family in London. It's not finished. Now, the soul of the man, given the man the same opportunity. We teach for the time to come. And we teach from now till that time to come. And that time comes, is not anymore the end of the world, something will happen. It's the maturity of the one's understanding of his own creation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 415th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 13th, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host today for Mr. Mehran Keshe, who we will be talking with shortly. But first, I'm going to present a new video that Mr. Keshe has asked me to show. And it's a beautiful new video promoting the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. And let me get that teed up here and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Rick. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation, series of teachings, we welcome you back for another session of learning more and sharing more, as we always said. The video you see is a parallel to what we are aiming to achieve this year. The body of the crafts are more or less ready and will be shipped to Arizona, Tehran, and Austria in the next few days, hopefully. And then the technicians and the people who work in the background will endeavor to install all the flight system within them. And we're hoping by March, April to start test flight. You have to understand the new technology is very much different than before. Allows us to travel, allows us without moving from the position for our soul to travel. This is one of the beauties with the system, that you expect to fly in a physical craft, but at the same time of being in the same position, we can allow you through development of the technologies, understanding the work of the universe, your physical dimension to allow your soul free within the system. I mentioned this before in touching the subject, that you might see a light within the system. That light is an interaction of the energy of the soul of the man with the fields within the system. In a way, as we heard in the intro, we open the cage. We allow you trusting your soul to be with you in the dimension of physicality within the engagement of the enhancement unit. It's for you to get to know yourself better, to get to know your creator better. And then in the next test and the next time, maybe you would like to take it for a ride. In a way, in the new systems, you will see a combination of the units which has been developed by the Keshe Foundation. And in that process, we allow your soul, we allow your emotion to take whole dimension and direction, where to be, what do you want to be. It will not be easy for many of you, and many will be, in a way, surprised to see in the dimension of physicality that now, for the first time, they're surrounded with their own soul, where up to now they engage the soul. But they can see the dimension of the physicality of the craft which they chose to be. The whole structure is being within the space of your own soul, but within the space of a system. In so many ways, your soul becomes the sun, and then your dimension of physicality at earth watches its light, watches its beauty. You don't need to dream anymore. You don't need to be there to think, I don't know if it's there or not. It'll become important for many of the scientists who work in this matter in the coming weeks and months, as many of our knowledge seekers teaches them to understand more, for them to see the light of the knowledge, for them to understand the ways to enlighten the others. In choosing the 3 points initial between Tehran, Austria, and Arizona, we allow the creation of star formation for the soul of Mitra to manifest itself in a dimension of the essence of the knowledge, not in the dimension of physicality. And by her presence and on us understanding that we are part of Mitra, we become knowledgeable to the knowledge of the universe. In a way, we become the mirrors of the knowledge. We reflect an understanding of that to our souls and dimension of our physicality to understand the totality. In the coming time, very shortly, as we produce every week and every month, between around about 15 to 30 of these units, we send a unit to each nation. Keshe Foundation covers the cost. And with it, we allow nation by nation to become part of the space technology through the science and technology. And with it, we take this to the next step. As I said before, it's the responsibility of Universal Council to decide which nation will be on the list. Next one, prepare the community and the society for it to receive what we call the units. Initial 3 units, once they become in the hand of the 3 nations, and then the second lot, as we prepare 2 for each section, for each city, then we launch it. Every week, it is the responsibility of knowledge seekers to decide which nation will receive the next unit, and with it, get the scientists involved in an understanding of the process of the development of this technology. We have put our request, an invitation to the NASA head of every section to join us. And at the same time, we endeavor to do so with many, many nations. And then we make space technology and the spaceship technology as a knowledge of one nation. So by mid-June, we expect to see at least 30 to 50 nations having a unit to be able to be part of, to be able to share knowledge and do it openly on the channels of the Keshe Foundation. In a way, we break barrier of science. We break barrier of patents and technology restriction. It is the responsibility of Universal Council and every member of the knowledge seekers, if you consider yourself knowledge seeker, to prepare your nation to receive the next system. The competition now is for you as knowledge seekers to see how fast you can accommodate, get your nations to accept the first flight units. And then your nation, add your scientists, add their own flavors by adding to the knowledge of the creation, by adding to understand more of the knowledge of the creation. As I said, we make one nation of this planet. And as we are the organizers and what we see through, the end of this year, 2022, we see that every nation on this planet will receive at least one unit to become part of, to understand the technology, and at the same time to become part of what we call one nation, one planet, one race. It will not be exclusivity of what they call themselves superpowers, but there will be exclusivity of every power, every man on this planet. By the end of this year, as we develop these new systems and we deliver, has the responsibility to bring scientists to add their own flavor and their own knowledge to it, but openly, not behind closed doors. There is no exclusivity. This is what we see, and this is how we see it. And it has to become a celebration of each nation receiving its unit, that it can join, be part of, and teach the others to become. In so many ways, we have broken the taboo of exclusivity of knowledge of creation to churches, to temples, and scientific organizations. It becomes the right of every man, the soul of every man, to have the knowledge in how we participate and how we do it. As I said, we have set up a new organizations in Keshe Foundation as consultants will come in. And through them, we bring in the space scientists. And step by step, we try to see in the Keshe Foundation, as we are the financiers in the background, that every continent receives the same number of systems at the same time. In a way, we don't give priority and we don't give what we call a step upper hand to another. Africa will receive the same numbers as South America, as North America, Europe, and Asia, but with one difference, that all centers, the 3 centers, will become the center of excellence. In a way we share, and in a way we together understand the technology. The new space systems, now that they're on production line, and then at the same time as we have already produced a large number of the vision units going through the final phases of assembly, we will allow each system to carry one enhancement unit vision that allows the emotion of the man to become the controller of that. We shall not see control panels as such for the flight. By setting the man within an enhancement vision unit, man will see the vision of the universe. I want to be in New York. System will take you to New York. I want to be in Tehran in such a street. Will take you to that position. I want to be on Mars on such a mountain. Will take you to that position. So the emotion of the man becomes the controller, but this time it's the emotion of the soul of the man, more than the emotion of the physicality of the man. The two will work together and we understand more. As I said to our team in Austria, as they're putting the systems together, it'll be a wonderful time to see how integration of what systems been developed will come to be used. The same system for health, the same system for production of material, the same system for enhancement of the soul of the man, and the same system for traveling the physical dimension of the man. Thanks to all the work which is getting done, especially in Austria, and especially the work with Klaus is doing in the background to make sure that everything is perfect. We chose the right nation to produce the systems. Nation of perfection, German mentality. Everything has to be precise and perfect. And we see it coming up the lines. We see the production units coming in and units to be shipped. This process brings a lot of pressure on new knowledge seekers, not us. How to be fair and how to be correct, and how, as members of Universal Council, per language and per nation, to be correct. Your Italian is speaking does not mean Italy has to receive the first unit. Whereas other Italians in other parts of the world who have the same beauty and the same position. In Australia, in America, in South America, where? This brings a lot of pressure and understanding, and why we put the members of Universal Council per language and per area which you will talk, you speak, Portuguese, but you're in Brazil. The member of Universal Council for Brazil has the same right as the member of Universal Council for Portugal. And this is the way we run. We'll see because and through the application and delivery of the enhancement units for flight, numbers of the members of the Universal Council, people who would like to be there to serve, will increase. And we have prepared ourselves for such a move. We will see the change, and the change is in your hand. These units are physically built now, and physically are and will be in the hand of each nation as the members of Universal Council decide. You have to prepare your nations of the language ready to receive. The responsibility of sitting back is over. You have to communicate with the members of the Earth Council for your section and make sure that is received. And they organize their facilities. From now on, the members of the Earth Council will be called in to serve, and those who are not to serve will be replaced. Understanding the whole structure of the new flight system is the responsibility of every man, not every scientist. And we make a scientist out of every man through simple way of understanding the structure of life, understanding how we are created and how through motion we have additional what we call tool to understand more, to be more humble, and at the same time to serve and become detached from the dimension of physicality. When you can travel the dimension of this planet through the waves of your fields of your soul, would you like to get on a jumbo jet? We've seen many of them grounded for past 2 years because of the virus, and I'm sure we will not see many of them flying again once the enhancement unit flight system is in the position of the governments one by one. Many of your governments will be surprised receiving such a gift, but this is the problem of your nation, not the Keshe Foundation. You need to bring the scientists together to understand that the game of unification of man as one nation, one race, one planet, one religion has started. And that religion is believing in Creator and nothing else. As I said, many countries will try to stop, will try to find a barrier till they find a solution to their own way of doing it. We see the city of Vatican to be the receiver of what? We have many knowledge seekers within the four walls of the Vatican. They understood the ethos and understood the knowledge, and now they have to bring the two together. We deliver one to Tehran and directly to the officers of Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, for him to understand the term of the science and religion has come together. And we do the same with others, to Jerusalem and to China, to make sure that, first of all, they understand the term of what we call separation to be in the path of the Creator has over and has come to an end. And this is the responsibility of the knowledge seekers to make sure these units, as we release one by one, become part of your nation, part of the nation of the language, not the nation of the barriers and borders. There's a lot of work is going on in the background for this unit to fly. It needs for man to free himself from the shackles of physicality. As a messenger, I have delivered my message. As a man of science messenger, I've delivered the science. It's for man to use it to bring peace to humanity and the rest. In so many ways, the time of Mehdi has come. And every one of us is a Mehdi for our own dimension of physicality and totality of the freedom of man. Through knowledge, understanding it, and understanding the process of the creation and the creator. Not by the books, and by the histories, and by relics that is being put on for us to be diverted to understand the totality. In the coming weeks and months, as one by one your nations receives one unit, they have to understand what are we going to do with it. As we saw with the Italian community, when we released the patent on the USB stick, they went to the parliament and they asked the government to accept the key. And we saw the rest of it. It's your responsibility to take this to your nations, to accept the unit and appoint scientists to understand, to work with the Keshe Foundation 3 headquarters, to develop the technology for them to become part of the space technology, not to replicate, but to understand and add to become part of. In so many ways, you're completing this knowledge of the physicality and the knowledge of understanding the technology. It is the responsibility of you knowledge seekers, the Universal Council, the supporting Universal Council, to take this to your governments and deliver to governments. Accept the date of delivery and negotiate with the Keshe Foundation for the delivery. Each unit has been valued at 10 million euro, and we support it, and nation by nation, we deliver it. At the same time, it has to be understood that every nation is responsible to guard it and to teach it publicly. Once you receive these units, you don't put them behind locked doors for scientists to work. You make sure with arrangement with the government and your what we call public media, every development on a specific channels are what we call released to public. People become part of watching it, how it's done, the way it's done. And then the knowledge becomes part of the nations and one nation population. The Chinese can watch the Italians what they're achieving in their unit, as the same do the Americans with the Africans. This is my goal, and this is what I came here for. To make man to work together, to forget about war and keep him busy with the new tools of the creation, that he forgets the competition and war to be better than the other, but to share equal. Keshe Foundation has pre-ordered 100 units. 6 goes to Arizona, Austria, and Tehran. The other 94 is for your nations. Start dialogue with your government, and we did it. Start dialogue with the universities to accept units to test flight, and we did it. It has to be understood that you make arrangements with your universities and your government, that the knowledge has to be on an open basis and not behind closed doors. We learned a trick from IEA. We put a camera on top of every unit. Would you like to be spied on like this and find out which scientist is doing better and then try to grab, steal, or kill? This is the reason we bring this out this way. It's your responsibility and the responsibility of your scientists to be open the way the knowledge seekers are today. 94 units are there on the table for every knowledge seekers Universal Council member for the nation. It's the responsibility of you as the knowledge seekers to encourage your government to join the new space technology and the gift. John and I, we have discussed this in a very detail, and we understand that this knowledge has to be for everyone and open to everyone and every scientist on this planet. We will see no resistance when a gift is given unless there is a what we call predestined reason for it. We do not want to see the flood of scientists from one nation to another to be able to access the technology, where they have it, they develop it, then they become part. It'll become the problem for national governments to agree on a new structure of governing through the Universal Council and not through borders. Taxation to be understood not to be necessary, where it becomes the expenditure of the totality to make sure that lifestyle becomes the same across this planet. I'm not a dreamer. I deliver a technology which delivers the dream. It's your responsibility as knowledge seekers to see this dream to come to reality as we give you the physical units to achieve it. The technology and the know-how will be lined up to be transferred nation by nation, scientist by scientist. By the end of this year, at least 100 nations should have access to be able to be part of the space technology of today, not the rocket and propulsion, and be accused of every other things except what the reality is. This is my gift to you as knowledge seekers. You waited for years to receive the gift. Now it's on the table. When I gave you the maggraph system, you cajoled with the wires. You didn't understand the principle and the details of the fields. This time, I give you the shell, and I give you the knowledge which goes in the shell. It's for you to understand this time the work of the field. I see some people in the Keshe Foundation to take heed and lead this project very fast. Jalal, Alex in Canada, Alex in Nigeria. I see a number of other knowledge seekers, especially in Vietnam, to understand the technology and transfer it to their people. It's not anymore who, is now how. We transfer the knowledge collectively, all of us. Once the unit arrives in Arizona, in Tehran, and in Austria, we'll put cameras and we show live to every nation how to and how it'll be. We'll invite the world leading scientists to join us. And with it, we deliver the technology that how the simple system can be changed to transportation, to material production, or to the elevation of the soul of the man. I hope I gave you a very beautiful gift for what you wish for years to do. It's not my job anymore. It's your job to make sure every nation receives this gift and make sure every scientist in each nation has the right to be able to input their system. As we go along, the following systems will be delivered one by one till we achieve a process of understanding the totality. Funding these projects is heavily burdened on the Keshe Foundation. We call upon knowledge seekers to support this project because there is a limitation in what I have managed to support financially, and now it depends on you how you do it in your areas, how you raise the consciousness of your nation to finance the projects, to become part, and to be there to see. We will gradually increase the numbers that it can be used for enhancement unit, that the knowledge seekers in their position, they can show the evolution in science of technology in the world of medicine, in agriculture, in growing plants within these systems, that one plant, the energy from it can feed the nation. In this process, we'll teach you more. And then we'll teach you how to elevate your soul. We teach you how to transport the man to different positions in the universe and bring back to show what we call souvenirs of the beauty of the Creator amongst us in other part of the universe. And as I said to a Chinese friend of mine, Chinese travel to London, and to show they've been to London, they buy the souvenir Tower of London or London Bridge. But when you turn it upside down, it says made in China. In a way, we make it, we send it, we buy it ourselves back and bring it back to show how far we have sent our knowledge, how far we have been able to explore our beauty and bring it back home. This is the process that relies on knowledge seekers, and especially the Universal Council. Especially the Universal Council has to understand how to accommodate this transition. Transition in a way to take the responsibility of the spreading the knowledge and the ethos of the creation. The knowledge seekers become the followers of the knowledge of the Creator, and no religion and no path, but their own. They decide the way they serve, they decide, they see the beauty in serving. As I said, we are not replacing one with another. There shall be no more religion, but there'll be a guiding line through the soul of the man, as we have a soul in the body of the man to centralize the soul of every cell, that they all work together in the body of the man. We have created Universal Council to be the central soul of every soul of the man on this planet. And once the Universal Council and the humanity in the creation on this planet understand this, we have created a new body, a body embodiment of the earth with all its citizens in respect of the shape, color, path of belief, position, or what we call the way to live. To be a man, to be an animal, to be a vertical or a stone, has to be able for the man to understand and to guide. The purpose of the creation of the Universal Council months and years ago was to create that self, that soul, for the whole of the totality of the human being. We bring an egg and a sperm together, and by its division and expansion, we create the soul of the man, and the soul of the man creates the physicality of the man. We did the same. We brought from every part of the man to create the sperm and egg, to create that soul, and that soul is the Universal Council. And now it's the job of the Universal Council to give shape to the structure of the planet, and with it, to bring mankind to become part of the bigger structure in a set of the body of the embodiment of the Creator as a universe and a unicos. Now we understand the process of the completion, and this enhancement unit brings you to the point. 94 units available to 94 nations and more. It's your responsibility to make sure this is done, and it's the responsibility of the knowledge seekers to bring the change. There is one coincidence, as I said before, not accidentally, but intentionally. 22nd of February 2022 falls on a specific day. If any of you checks and you go on your calendar, you'll come to understand exactly what that date is and what that date means to many of you. February 222 falls on Tuesday, on the day of the meeting of the Universal Council, and the day of the change, of the man to understand the position and the time. And as was said, maybe Mehdi will declare himself on that day. Is the responsibility of the man to be ready for the change? Is the responsibility of the man to prepare the mankind and the world leaders for that change? And is the responsibility of the man to understand that the change through science and technology and ethos has been delivered in both dimensions, the physical and the structure that the soul of the system will create. The new enhancement flight system is not just for the flight. It's for the flight of the freedom of the soul of the man. And it's the responsibility of Universal Council and knowledge seekers to make sure every citizen of this planet, every created thing on this planet has equal opportunity to raise his soul to the level of understanding, where it was said the lamb and the lion will live in the same den. In a way, then is the den of knowledge. The soul of the lion and the lamb and the man will understand the same and become of the same essence of the source of knowledge of the Creator. Then we understand. As I said, would you eat your brother or would you kill your own child? And then the killing will come to an end. And in time, man will mature to move on to become part of the universal community and use the field of the universe to survive and not to kill to become part of. When you look at this video again, I hope Rick can play it again. You see, we bring man from the darkness via a ray of light, and to show you how, with that ray of light, man can become part of the universal community by flying into the what I call the womb of the Creator and the creation. Thank you very much for being here today, and I could not give you a better gift and knowledge. That's what I've done today. We go through a break and we come back and we try to answer what question might have. Thank you very much, Rick.
Well, thank you, Mr. Keshe. It's a real pleasure to hear your words today and see the unit and the plans for it. Is just amazing and fulfills many people's dreams of going to space in one way or another. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll play the video again that we saw earlier. And then a couple of other videos during the break, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before.
The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a space technology that allows you to work with the fields of the universe. Creating a wide range of plasma field interactions and conditions, it allows the body to process itself from any physical or emotional imbalance. Once this balanced condition is achieved, the soul and emotion of the man can follow to find their balance, elevating the whole of the man. The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, technology of the future through advanced plasma knowledge.
Okay, welcome back everyone to the 415th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 13th, 2022. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to take on some questions?
Yes.
Okay.
It's strange enough, the 414 was last time when we closed, and 415 today, which is 1, is the beginning of a new cycle. It's just about the right thing, but unfortunately it's on the 13th of a month, which could be a bit good for some and a bad for the others. But it's a good mixture.
At least it's not Friday the 13th. That's one benefit, I suppose. We have had a broadcast on the 13th before, on Friday the 13th, I think, but
we've done that as well many times.
We've done just about every holiday and day of the month and day of the year
We've been
over
there.
the years. I'll remind the attendees here, they can put their virtual hands up and then we can acknowledge you and allow your microphone to open. So we encourage questions from that are relevant to today's teaching, if possible, first. We do have a couple of questions in the Q&A that we can address to begin with here. From Paulo. Says, Mr. Keshe, based on a U.S. analysis of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Jewish scholar Dr. Paul Shalom highlighted 3 points. 1, at a certain time, God will build a new temple. 2, sons of God, sons of light, and sons of darkness found there in Old Testament manuscripts, which did not exist before, but which nevertheless had been used to write the New Testament. He found this very surprising. 3, 2 messiahs and a prophet will appear. One of the messiahs will arise from the royal lineage, and the other will be a priestly messiah arising among common people. They speak of the salvation they will accomplish. Questions. Has this temple ever been built? And 2, how to herd these children of darkness into the light? And 3, has this prophet or these messiahs and the Antichrist ever come? And what family is this royal bloodline? It's a pretty big question, Mr. Keshe. Maybe I need to repeat.
It's very simple.
Okay.
The temple is the soul of the man, the temple of the man himself, not the physical temple. And blind line lineage, the king or what we call, comes from the creator, not from the man. And there is nothing antichrist about it. It is everything which brings an end to not understanding the creator. If you believe that the Christ was the son of the creator, then there is no need for anything more than to understand the teachings, not the man. And I think I answered you in totality with all your questions. The temple you're looking for is the temple of the soul of the man, which actually is the physicality of the man himself. You build a temple to keep a relic or a statue or a belief in it. That temple is the body of the man. And the relic and the statue of what you want to pray and believe in is the soul of the man. And this is what we never understood. And those who did not understand it but saw weakness in the man abused the man both on the physical and emotional side. And the rest, I think you can see and understand the rest of it. The kingdom is his and nobody else's. So you find the lineage, the line, or whatever you like to believe. We're not making another temple. We're not making another religion and a faith. We are enlightening the man for him to find his temple. When you can reach every knowledge of the universe through your soul, do you need a temple except that belief and understanding of the Creator and his knowledge? Any other question?
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Question from Brazil by Alexandra. 2 questions, actually. 1, is there any relation between the sleep of the physical body and transmutation? How can we understand the state of sleep of the physical body, which is a moment when the soul moves away from the physical body, and when moving away from the physical body, the soul manifests itself anywhere? And why don't we have control of our sleep?
You'll find out in space we will not sleep. That's for sure. We rest to recuperate from the transition of the fields within the body of the man. And we have tuned it to the time of the darkness or nighttime, most of us. And in that process, when we are in the spaces, there is no day and night, it's a continuous line of life. The process of the regeneration and absorption of the fields from the environment will not allow man man does not need to rest to recuperate. And in that process, the soul of the man and the soul of physicality are always co-working, they're together. Now, when we say that the soul of the man is freer, it's not that free, it's freer to travel the span of the what we call creation, when the physicality is recuperating and is at weakest, is what we see, what we observe. But doesn't mean that the body, the soul of the man escapes from the body of the man. It is still expands beyond it, but the physicality becomes part of it. This is what, and this is one of the reasons we remember part of our, what I call dream, where our soul interacts with the other souls, and in communication between its boundary and its center, our body is in the middle of it. It doesn't escape. There's no escapism in this process. It's becoming encircled with it. When we are awake, we encapsulate the soul. When we go to sleep or weaken the, what we call the strength of the fields of the physicality, then the soul of the man increases its dominion. And now, if you look at it, here, the physicality was, now the physicality becomes within. And as the interaction of the soul of the man with the other souls takes place, because it's a field interaction, it creates an emotion between the boundary. It's like when you touch a fire, you feel it, it sends the emotion to the center. And the soul of the physicality of the man is in between. So this interaction between this and this, what they call the boundary, the interaction of the dimension of the interface of the soul of the man when the body of the man is weaker, with its center to communicate, man picks up some of the signals, we call it a dream. Now we are encircled, where in the time of what we call awakeness or alive, being there, but this still functions. This still has an aura of it, but not so much that this is at the time of the sleep. So in a way, we don't let loose anything. We just understand it. And part of our teaching is for you this position, this cycle. Man up to now has lived in this cycle. But now you can control it. Then you communicate through the soul with all the souls around you, where you don't need physicality. Physicality has a dimension, vision, what we call maybe sound, but with the soul, you don't have that. You go beyond, and through the fields, you can interact and communicate. And these are the same with the others. That's the difference. Now, this is what we understand, and we don't need to engage. And this is especially what we'll see with this will be when you go into the enhancement units. This is what you will see. This is what will baffle you as light. And one thing for sure, not all lights in a dimension inside the enhancement units will be the same color. because this, in a way, will show part of your emotion. This is how we interact with the others in the universe. From the interaction of the fields, we gather their emotion, what they think, what they want, what is the reaction. That's how we see the dreams in ourselves. So in this process, we'll see different colors, and we know the true intention of the man inside. When you ask, are you in love with the Creator, and what is your intention with your work? I am an Ayatollah, or I am a Pope. My intention to rob and deceive the humanity will show a different color than the one which says, I'm here to serve humanity. Now we know each color what it means. There'll be no one lying into the machine after all soul. Then you ask the world leaders to enter these systems. And then you see the true intention of the president, the king, the rabbi, the ayatollahs, and the popes and the priests. It's not a lie detector, it's the true intention of life explanation. I wonder, once the unit arrives in Tehran and we ask the ayatollahs to walk in, how many of them will walk in, or they call it the Satan system, because it unravels their intention. The same in Vatican, and the same in Jerusalem, and in China. Then people understand the man who has nothing to hide will walk in. Any other question?
Alexandra has a second question. It goes like this. Many loved ones are asleep to the truths that you bring. Are there people who will not change dimension with the return of the Master and Messiah? Loved ones of ours may be removed from us in different dimensions.
Nothing needs to be removed. The enlightenment will hit everybody. The beauty of the whole process is that the line of communication is taken out of the hand of what I call media. With the presence of the internet and the way knowledge is shared across people, what they control as what we call television and the media is out. You got to understand. Many of those who are the decision makers in these fields, in what I call internet medias or the televisions or radios, they themselves become subject to judge their own conduct. And then they have to change. We learned something very, very special in how monarchies will bend and how monarchies will change to stay in monarch. And it's the same with the world leaders, how they will change to stay in power, but they find out they don't have much. We saw it in a couple of occasions when population turned against the regime, the kings, the queens, and how to survive. They had like chameleons to change themselves. We saw that with Tony Blair and the Queen of England during the death of Diana. If Tony Blair would not interfere in a deeper way that he went, there would have been no monarchy within days in the United Kingdom. Monarch had to change, and monarch had to come out to say a lot of things to stick to their power, and with it, they show a weakness, and with it, they lost their power to Vatican. We've seen this because they want to stay in power, they change in any shape or form, but population will change it. The force of the knowledge in the hand of people It's the biggest tool the man is given with this technology. You can do it in your living room. As I said, we don't need to imprison or assassinate any world leaders or scientists. We just elevate their soul. They prison themselves for their conduct. You will see the change, and the change is on its way. There is no way to stop. We are not negotiating with governments to accept the new flight system. We are telling them it's coming. Do you want to be part of it, or they pass you? What do you think the answer is? It's the same with the Americans, the same with the Russians, the same with the Chinese and the African nations. You cannot ban your nation to become a developing nation openly. Then we are on our way. Then we are on the way to deliver technologies that brings the change to the soul of the man and with it to the dimension of physicality. Any other question?
I have a question from Philip in the YouTube. If
You still have your pictures on, if you want to put there something else on the screen. Carry on. Carry on.
Yes. Philip asks, if you detach from the physicality to travel by the soul, do you get to keep the RNA and DNA? I want to stay a product of my beautiful parents. Or does your physical body become transparent within the soul?
More or less, yes. You don't disappear in the dimension of physicality. The physicality gets encircled by the soul. What are you afraid of? You have embedded and encircled the soul, and you say you know better and do everything. Now that the soul has the knowledge, not the freedom, not the knowledge of surpassing you and you become within it, you are afraid that you cannot do what you've done up to now, or you might be afraid of what you've done, that the soul might aspire to show. I encourage and I invite the world religious leaders to walk into these systems and to elevate their souls. These systems are not a judgment system. These systems are there to bring man to a new level of understanding the knowledge of the Creator and the creation. And that's the only difference. We have nothing to fear if we live one life. I have nothing to fear. I live very openly. And with it, I have no fear. I ask what I've given, I take. And when it's taken from me, I let it go, because it was taken from me without me being asked for it. And this is the difference that man will learn. And the next cycle I started, you got to realize from what we announced today, what's going to be delivered from today, 1 unit on a regular basis, 3 units to round about a unit a day to go to one nation. Nations cannot stop the development. You work to make the Maghreb units at home. You work to make the enhancement different, what the structures we showed you in your garages and the kitchens and in your offices. And as one ambassador said, my ambassador offices become the research lab and I sleep in there, what do you call it, in the lodge. this is what it'll become. We are not forcing nations, we are gifting nations. And it's a big difference. And it's the responsibility of the knowledge seekers in that nation to encourage the scientists to explore more. What? Don't hide. To intentionally open up the challenges of the knowledge that how much we understood, what can you add to our knowledge? Superiority in a nation will come from its knowledge, not from its weapon and power anymore. And how much they will share that knowledge, not by hiding it. In one of the latest communication to NASA chief flight officers has been very simple. Join us, bring your teams, and we work together with the Chinese, the Iranians, and the rest of the world to develop this technology beyond them to understanding of the present time. Because they know they're working for 2030 launch to Mars. And half of the things they do, they don't even know what they are doing yet. And they're hoping by 2030, a solution will be found that they might get there in 6 months, or they can get there within hours. The bait is too sweet for NASA scientists not to walk away from NASA. And at the same time, not to bring NASA to be part of it. Bringing all the space agencies to work together and then the scientists is not a big challenge. The challenge is that man trusts his own soul to become part of it. We see today in negotiations between NATO and Russia, do not come further into my territory and I keep myself a good boy. With our technology, we invite you, come into my territory because I can show you how better our scientists can serve the others. Game changed. It's not a competition, it's a challenge to share. And then you understand how simply we get rid of patents. Because the old technologies have no value with their patents anymore. And the new is not patented, so it becomes common knowledge and change in direction and dimension. Any other question?
We have a questioner here. Gatwa would like to say something, I believe.
I promise you, he wants a unit for Kenya. He always battled with us that Kenya become equal to that. Mr. Gatwa, before you ask your question, speak to Universal Council. If the council agrees on the system of program, you'll receive one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Dr.
I have two questions. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for delivering your promises, delivering this excellent technology in exchange for peace. And we have started seeing that peace is really coming. Now my question, I have two questions. One is, given that you have said that the centers of excellence will be built in a specific way, that is to say, like a center in Kenya may be similar to a center in some other places in the world. Given that also a place to build that center will be required. So for those of us who want the center very badly and very soon, how do we approach governments? Do we have a document that we can deliver and say, this is what we require? And then the second question is very...
Let me answer you the first question. These documents already have been drawn up and some will be drawn up further. Business plans for scientific centers has already been drawn up some 2 years ago. Business plan for what we call the enhancement units, CO2 units, has been set in principle and part. I think you, Dr. Gatto, were part of the CO2 group setting up the conditions for it when we set up the CO2. All the things you did in those groups now has been put together as business plan for governments. When we asked you, if you remember, I think you were part of that group, when we set up a CO2 group and you did a lot of work, all those works have been kept and has been used in business plan. It has not been wasted. When we set up organizations and groups of you to do things and you accumulate documents, we keep documents. The head of the Keshe Foundations keep everything. And business plans for what you're asking for your country regarding the institute to do these space flights and everything else, the Spaceship Institutes, already been prepared 2 years ago with everything in it. The business plan for enhancement unit has been put together by John and the others in past 2 years. And whatever you posted, whatever documents you put in the archives of the Keshe Foundation has been kept and business plans has been set on it. You don't see us coming to the CO2 group, which was set up to ask for anything, and you think it was a waste of time. Everything you did in that group has been utilized, which has been appropriate for us to utilize in our business plans, in our promotions. So when it comes for you to submit to a government, for majority of the things, it's just a flick of a finger because it's already been done. We set up groups to do things, and you enthusiastically do things for the first 4 or 5 months, and you get all the points of use put in, and you prepare papers and documents and think, oh, it was wasted. Nothing has been wasted. Cleverly, the heads of the Keshe Foundation, what they call people in the background with the internet, they store all the information. Nothing which you put on the chats of the Keshe Foundation ever disappears. It all gets recorded and is kept in archives. And they know where to search for it. And they put a business plan with it. We have a business plan for Institute. If you want for Kenya, within the next 5 seconds, I can download it for you. But it has to be appropriate. We have to know where it goes. We don't leave it out to be in public. The same with the CO2. The CO2 business plan, when you did your work, was more or less completed by heads of the Keshe Foundation about a year ago, bits together, and completed. And I'm sure you were part of that group, if I remember correctly. And all the things you put in notes and memos were kept, and a business plan was drawn out of it. If we see another need for it, we'll come to it. We come back to the group, but we set a lot of groups up, and we let you work. But in the background, everything you put on these chats in the background, the education, the Universal Council, whatever, is kept in the archives. And with literally a few minutes when we ask, everything is brought together. What we call the web side of the Keshe Foundation is extensively looked after and uploaded and backed up with different, what we call, hard disks and everything, that if one goes down, we have everything of the Keshe Foundation, more or less from day one, has been kept in 2 or 3 hard disks separately. And every time, all the private educations, all the groups you meet on the Telegram or whatever you put up, it's all been kept. When you ask me, can we give it to government? If you come to the government, when we talk to governments, responsible people, yes, we'll release it to them. We don't let it become a shopping list.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Yes, and I would definitely appreciate a copy. And now my second question.
You will not get a copy till we have a communication with your government. That's very clear. We've seen it to be released, and it damages our work in the long run through the other people who try to stop it. When we negotiate with the governments, we release it to the governments for them to see what comes. We clearly do not release these documents to knowledge seekers or people who are negotiating with the government. When Keshe Foundation through you speaks to the government, we release it to the ministers, we release it to the officials, that official step can be taken in respect to it.
Thank you very much indeed. So the second question is, I was just wondering whether there is an update on the Vienna talks.
The update is Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran on Friday approved that the talks can start with Americans. And that was a big step. And we were expecting this. We announced some time ago, you have to understand the way this talks is measured in Iran. How the talks goes affects the exchange rate between dollar and euro in Tehran. And there are certain things, long-term, short-term, that we look into. Long-term, around September, October, the whole thing has started last year in pressurizing through the people, the enemies of the Keshe Foundation, the Iranian government, to issue an execution for me by the people who victimed a year and a half ago. They delivered 2 terabytes of information to the Iranian securities that I'm a spy for the Israelis and the rest. The process of integration of the Keshe Foundation into the Iranian technology started by the Iranian government about a year and a half ago. And in that process, we saw about 10th of February releasing the technology to be part of the Keshe Foundation in Iran. We responded by opening the Keshe Foundation, the factories, and negotiating to start the other piece and the offices in Tehran. At the same time, we keep a very close integrated program and connection with the American IEA and in the background with the Chinese. You cannot succeed in negotiation if you do not keep abreast of everything. In the past year and a half, directly through a person who's been appointed by Ayatollah Khamenei to the Keshe Foundation, we transferred all our views and the way the negotiations has to be handled in writing to His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei, word messages, what we call voice messages, directly delivered to the office of Ayatollah Khamenei, to him personally. We gave the way we see the negotiation has to be done. And specific questions has been put in. How do we handle this? We've done a lot of work with especially Youssef and the Keshe Foundation in Iran and the people who've been appointed by the both governments and what we call the office of Ayatollah Khamenei. We put our view very clearly how negotiation has to be and how we will succeed. So it's a year and a half of progress. In February of last year, they released our name as part of the technology. In a way, warning the Americans. We informed the Americans of the position. We work very closely within the structure of the White House in a very, correct way. We don't sell Iran, but we allow to know. We saw a development after everything else in September, after the new government which came into power, that how we see it. Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran set up to create condition of the peace with not only advice of the Keshe Foundation, but with other advices they receive. The Prime Minister of Iran, what we call the Minister of Nation, after the President, is a senior son-in-law of Ayatollah Khamenei. So we knew he's taken charge to bring the nation to a position. He never interfered directly. Then we see Mr. Barbary, his Ayatollah Khamenei, youngest son-in-law, took the charge of negotiation in Tehran and in Vienna. So when we speak to Ayatollah Khamenei's office through his team, and his son-in-laws directly deliver the wishes of the Ayatollah Khamenei to bring Iran to success, is very, very close. So we are in, and our advice is taken. As one of our people said in Tehran, whenever you send the advice, within a few days, we see it get implemented. It's amazing how fast they listen to your advice. We advised the way. I don't agree the way Iran is negotiating. I made it very clear to the Iranian government and Ayatollah Khamenei. We should have entered at the point of power, not point of weakness. But at the same time, the way Iran went into the negotiation at the point of weakness, they saw a benefit for it, be it personal to some of the Ayatollahs, be it collective to the nation. We saw Americans misuse this position. We entered on the 15th of December directly with IAEA, bypassing American government to give the message to the Israelis and the British and the Americans, we know you lied. And as our people say, Israel immediately within hours changed their position because we opened their hand of how they lied to the Americans and IAEA that Iran possesses and heading for nuclear weapon technology, when Iran is heading for a space technology in most advanced way. This changed the position, and we saw last Friday Ayatollah Khamenei announcing that Iran can negotiate with America. We'll see the negotiation will take a new shape in the next few days, and we will reach an agreement. The agreement should be reached before 22nd of February in the background. And if you go back to the words of Ayatollah Khamenei in September, he expects to see a complete conclusion to the position of negotiation before 21st of March, which is the Iranian New Year, that he delivers what we call a complete program change of Iran back into line with the what we call the nations. And we expect at the moment dollars around about 30,000 rial to the 2 months to a dollar. We expect it to drop to below 12 to 13,000, and it's the forecast of the government the same. So we see a massive devaluation of the currency, and then we're bringing it back into it. But understanding that we've done our job, now we move back in to share the technology rapidly, that we give an intensive pressure on the governments to start working together to overcome the sanctions and the rest. More or less, we hear the same thing from Mr. Bawari. Don't forget, being the son-in-law of Ayatollah Khamenei, he directly communicates for every move with his father-in-law. And it's the same with the minister of Iran. Don't forget, Mr. Wahidi, the Iran Prime Minister, the minister of the country. He is a gentleman who, if you look at the report of the Corona in 2020, we said in a cooperation with Tehran National Defense University. Mr. Wahidi is a gentleman who brought Keshe Foundation into the National Defense University, as he was the head of the National Defense University. And we have a huge understanding within the government. He supported us to do the corona test. And now that he's become minister, he's fully aware of the work of the Keshe Foundation. As they talk to the Keshe Foundation team in the background, we have a very clear position. We are there to serve the Iranian nation and the Iranian government was fair and just. And we see a lot of goods coming out of Iran, and we are there to serve the American nation the same, to deliver the same. Right? As one nation, Keshe Foundation cannot take side, but has to be correct on either side. So we see, for the first time, I clearly explain everything that everybody understands. We received a lot of pressure, a lot of lies was delivered, 2 terabytes of it through Dr. Asadi, who's the biggest spy. Actually, we know he works for the Mossad and Israeli intelligence deeply. He, the same as what they call it, communication, created that facade, but the Iranians saw through it. But now we are going through, and a lot of things delivered by a guy in Germany, Iranian, working again for Mossad in the background, catching up and linking up to be sympathetic with the people who kicked out a year and a half ago, trying to get the Iran national, what we call, intelligence in the parliament against the Keshe Foundation, but does not work. And we've seen it. We open more of this to you, and we see how these people actually work in the background to the benefit of the Keshe Foundation. The peace talks will take a new shape. Hasn't taken a new shape. We'll come to a conclusion because now, through his son-in-laws, Ayatollah Khamenei has taken a full charge of the negotiation. He always, in past 20, 30 years, spoke through ministers and presidents who were against the regime, against the way he thought. Ayatollah Khamenei has worked very hard to bring Iran scientifically to 22nd century, more than 21st century. And we respect and honor his work because he is done. Without him, Iran would not be in that position today. After the revolution, everything which happened to Iran, it would have been worse than a third world nation. Without his guidance, Iran would have been in doldrums. And now he has delivered the technology, he has delivered the science of the knowledge of the nuclear and other what called chemical and nanotechnology. He's taken the charge directly to his son-in-laws to deliver the peaceful nation of Iran. And we respect him and thank him for his work. And we support it the same way. This is why we put the system in Tehran and Arizona at the same time. And this is part of the work that has been hidden from public. And a man of a correct conduct, a man of integrity like Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, supporting his nation to become so advanced and using the technology to bring the nation to another point has to be respected. And now he's taken full charge. Everything is negotiated word by word, sentence by sentence, as approved by him and his son-in-laws in power to deliver Iran into one of the most advanced nations in coming time. Peace process is complete, and this is why we ask the Universal Council to support the soul of the negotiators, because through supporting the soul of negotiators, especially the Iranian team, we support Ayatollah Khamenei to bring that delivery of the technology and science together, and with a religious understanding of the peaceful nation of Iran. Negotiations are complete as far as we understand, and now we've done our work. We sat at the team of advisors. We advised the nation a year and a half before negotiations started, the way we saw it, what people we saw to be appointed in what position, and most of it has taken place. And we are free. We are very confident. We will see very rapid development and conclusion to the benefit of all, but mainly West will benefit more from it as more advanced technologies from Iran will be delivered into the West. That will bring everything forward. And what we call the enhancement unit in Arizona is part of the peace dividend. I would not have delivered the enhancement unit flight system to Arizona and the vision unit to Arizona if we were not sure 100% the negotiations have taken shape the way we wanted it, and this is a peace dividend. The negotiation is complete as well as we are. We took a step back as we are preparing the next step that Iran can catch up after the agreements have reached. You got to understand, we are there to support as we've done. We started with knowledge seekers some 9 years ago when Obama reached for the technology, and we started the 5+1 negotiations. And now we've done our job, and now we pay off people who work to bring the peace, and the payoff of it is the transfer of technology to the United States and all the nations at the same time. We have achieved what we came here for, and we will see continues in small ways because the politicians have to do their work, the benefit of the new negotiations and the teams. We saw the Koreans to be in Tehran because Korea wants to transfer a lot of technologies, needs a lot of Iran gas reserves, and they want to be part of it. So they came to Vienna to pressurize the Americans and the Chinese to release the 7 billion funds of Iran kept in reserve, but already most of it has been used in supporting Iran in different ways by South Koreans. You got to remember, we were in South Korea over 10 years ago, and there are a lot of work in the background which takes shape and does work, and South Koreans understand the benefit of the new transfer of technology. Negotiations are in a good way, and more or less as far as we are concerned, it's completed. We don't need to be there, we've done our work. I sent many private messages, both as was requested in writing and in voice messages to Ayatollah Khamenei, the way we want it to be done, and we advised the government, and is being kept in the future. The office of Khamenei of Iran will release these voice recordings and what we wrote advising, and many of it has been listened.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, for all the details and excellent achievements. We very much welcome all the good things that must come along pretty soon.
A lot of good things. A lot has come very soon. As I said, we already have transferred part of the Keshe Foundation of Space Technology into the United States. We're now waiting to happen, and the Americans know we've done that, and they understand that was part of the key part of the negotiation. Transfer of technology, not by word, but by heart, what we call hard materials. And that was a very big step for us to make that decision. And in Austria, we decided with John, it's the time to move, and we moved. And with the knowledge of the Americans, we transferred, we shipped the materials, which is on the edge of science and technology, to the United States after the understanding of what they call the peace negotiations are on the right track. It's not waiting to happen. We have already started it to happen because the technology is already in the US.
Thank you very much. We now welcome the new enlightenment.
We shall
hopefully wait very soon. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year once again. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, we have several questions in the Q&A. I'd like to bring one up, and we also have Salamia with the hand up. Get to her in a second. Liko in the Q&A asks, well, first I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Keshe and Rick. My question is, what is it like flying a spacecraft with your mind using the consciousness-assisted technology? And will there be a plasma communication device to go with the ship?
Everything is there, of course. You have to communicate, you arrive, you have to communicate when you leave. It'll be the same, yes. There are a lot of technologies which is transferred and is getting produced in our labs, which even our lab people do not know. They're just following what is being set up. And in time, they'll be integrated to what it's supposed to do. It's like a piece of jigsaw. It's all been made. It's just putting together at the same time in Arizona, Tehran, and what we call Austria together at the same time. And then you'll see it when it's delivered as a whole. The technology developed by the Keshe Foundation is not what you see in the teaching. It does not exist. We never allowed it to be coming out. We never, it was a decision made by, by us in the Keshe Foundation and what we call production and management to keep it. We understand why we're keeping it. We keep a very close, open talks with John, with Yusuf, with Klaus, and that we all understand the reason we are doing it, the way we are doing it. We keep in the brace of everything with Wang Lin in China for the Chinese officials, and with Ella for the Keshe Foundations, the head of the Keshe Foundations. So the top management of the Keshe Foundation are embraced with everything, the reason we're doing it, the way we are doing it, and what we expect the outcome to be. So in a way, everything is getting done, and all the top people involved and concerned are kept abreast of what is and the way it is. Any other question?
Okay, Salamia is hand up here, so go ahead.
Hello, hello everybody. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick. I would like to send or deliver a small message to our beloved or the leaders of all kinds, because Mehdi will come, and I'm so happy. I'd like to share with entire humanity this good news. It's time to open our heart and to give to our soul of man the freedom who is looking for to reach the universal community. Now it's time to get rid of this crisis of consciousness, of spirituality, which blocked our link with the Creator. Let all people from the entire planet to get the connection with the Creator as he wishes, from his heart, with the help of the communication and coherence between soul of man and the heart. It's time to get rid of all artificial crises of scarcity and let people to enjoy of abundance of the universe. Get people the right and the opportunity to develop themselves in equal basis. As the Creator give us the opportunity by love and by a lot of understanding to develop our soul, to elevate our soul, to get the necessary knowledge, to understand the simple law of the universe, that all we are magraphs, and if we need something, we will receive from the universe, because universe will create the fields necessary to bring us all what we need, but not too much, just to fulfill our needs. So it's time.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Do you have any questions?
No, I didn't have a question. This is my last time when I am free to talk, because I am free from my job, and I get this opportunity to give this talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any other questions, Rick?
We have a couple of other questions here. Dirk's asking, how far are we with the time formation for going forward and backward in time? I'm looking for others to develop such a device if it's not already developed.
Going backwards, this is what I don't understand. We cannot go backwards in time or forward in time. The only backwards time man can go is through what he has embedded in his memory. But there is no machine to go backwards if you understand the true science of what we call matter physics or plasma physics. I'll explain this in a very, very detail in one of the teachings some times ago. If you're looking at physical backwards time to see the past, unless you go through the memory of the man, is an impossibility. Tell you the reason why. This was brought up in a different way to the professors at Jeddah University. If you have a man standing on planet Earth, and this planet is moving at 1,600, and then the solar system inside it moving at, let's say, around about 10,000 per hour. If you throw a stone up and you watch the stone going up, this stone won't land there, it will land here. Or will be by the time to land, it'll be at this point. And then you understand this vision has a scared and is scattered around. So for you to be able to see this 1,000 light away, as man says, is impossibility because it will be scattered in 2 dimensions and the galaxy of dimension. So we cannot see the past. It's impossibility for us to ever see the past, except in the memory of the man, if you can visualize your memory. So going back to the future with a system to go out and watch it is literally impossible. But you can put a soul of the man who has been witness to a composition, to an event, that through the soul of the man, through dimensional transmutation of the RNA of the soul and RNA of the physical dimension of DNA, then you might be able to see the visualization of exactly what the man has seen. So if we look enough down the line to find people who were witness to crucifixion of Christ, they can tell us exactly how it happened. And we will see it in a vision of their memory. Don't forget, when you have a blue eyes, brown hair, white skin, and then you give the same to your son, to your daughter, whatever, you transfer that to DNA. But DNA carries the RNA with the information. What did this blue eye see? And how did the hair felt? How the physicality was conditioned in that time of position is written, memorized in the fields of the RNA. So if we go down the line enough, or at the present time with the knowledge, find people, especially who never left Palestine. It's very crucial. The race which never left Palestine and what witnessed to the ancestor through RNA and the DNA, the crucifixion of Christ, we will see the actual image, the actual physical dimension of what they saw in their eyes of crucifixion. Then we know if it was true. Or were they just people standing on a path as the Christ went, seeing him carrying the cross? Did it actually happen? Are there eyewitnesses to it? Many of the historical things which man claims through time of history, through his RNA, with the new technology will be unraveled. And I said that years ago. Every action of the man is recorded. And in time, the man of space, we couldn't say the man himself, will show it. Now you understand how it's done. Because we have the technology, it can be delivered. Sight of vision and sounds through RNA and DNA is never raised from the soul of the man. Because this is how you see a man and you recognize as your father or your grandfather that passed away decades ago. So the same thing goes further down the line. 1,000 years is nothing in the, what I call the cartridge of memory of the man memory disk. In our RNA and DNA, we remember part of the creation of the universe, if man knows how to do it. As I said yesterday in Rick's teaching, that the new technology brings us new dimension. And if we understand it, we can create what has been up to now. Let me just get a new page. One of the problems we have had, it's amazing, I cannot raise a new page. I'm going to clear this out. And up to now, if you go back a few years ago, we asked the knowledge seekers. I remember even John was working to find the strength of the field of the soul of the man. And they went to different materials and different things. This material, this field, the strength will be the strength of the soul of the man, and the rest of it. I'll try to give some hint to it. You got to understand the strength field of the soul of the man in interaction with the strength field of the environment leads to the what we call the creation of the physical man. The soul of the man, feel the strength, has to be high enough that not only interaction with the soul of the what we call field of the earth leads to the creation of man, to other souls, other planets of the higher order, even the stars. You can manifest yourself in the center of a star. If you understand it, then the soul of the man has a strength beyond the material state which you have and you produce gases of. And this is where most of you as knowledge seekers have missed the knowledge. You try to put some gases and with their interaction to create or to produce condition of man. In the new enhancement systems, this knowledge is hidden and will be revealed. Then in this new enhancement systems, you don't create the copper and silver. You create the strength of the soul of the copper and silver, the plasma of it. And in the condition of any atmospheric condition, be it Earth, the sun, another galaxy, another universe, in the interaction, the copper will manifest itself as the inertia of the field, the strength of it matches that environment. It might be in a liquid form on Earth, but there are other states of matters which man has never seen that will manifest itself. On Earth, you are used to solids in the shape of liquid, gas, solid, or whatever, plasma which you added. There are other states of matter which man is not used to it. But the field strength of the copper in that, it must show itself in a totally new condition and new manifestation. These are all part of the teachings and the understanding to come. So in the present new enhancement unit, we have the capability to create fields if man understands enough at the strength of the field of the soul of the Creator. That within it, man becomes knowledgeable of the knowledge of the universe. Not in the strength of the soul of the man, which in interaction with a field is created to be the physicality of the man. The sperm and the egg are created on the condition of atmospheric condition of field, the strength of the planet. So there is a limitation on the strength of the soul of the man on this planet. But when you open it up, it carries within it, within the strength of it, the soul of the strength of the Creator. And it's still to come. These are the teachings when, if I do anything, then I become a magician. But if you understand it, you understand the magic of the science of the creator. And that's the difference between our teaching and what you had as prophets and other scientists. You are responsible, and according to your intelligence, you understand the knowledge of the creation. But in essence, if you understand it, then you understand how we've developed and progressed the knowledge over time. But don't forget, the collective fields within the sperm and the egg led to creation of the strength of the soul. Then what is the mystery within that egg or within that sperm that can replicate, feel the strength of the universe and the creator within it? I made man in the image of myself. So within our sperm and egg carries the essence of the knowledge of the creation. We are not aware of what we just pass it on because we haven't become knowledgeable to understand it. And it's time to understand. And it's not exclusive of humanity, as the other races in the universe have already progressed to pass that point. This is the beauty of the teaching. This is the beauty of understanding the knowledge. Then, if, as I said in the teaching yesterday, if we can create that process through our systems within the enhancement unit, then you understand the unit has a soul. By the interaction of internet to sperm, we created in manipulation the soul of the man. Now we have many reactors. What soul shall our system have? Now, would the soul of the system accept your soul? Well, you're so far, as I said, people will walk away from the enhancement unit. Does not matter. Many of the world leaders, religious leaders, when you see them walking out and not be able to manifest themselves as a soul in, you know they're criminals. Crime against their own soul, not against anything else. In a way, they become the judge of their own conduct. Then you will see they'll put down their turbans, the headbands, and they leave the church and the mosque, and we never hear from them. Because the conduct of the process has to be according to understanding of the soul. And I always said, when you ask and you are given, there is no punishment as you have delivered according to what you've been given. Did any of the religious leaders ask the others, can I abuse your soul? Can I lie to you in the name of the creator or whatever? Then it comes to any other question? The strangest thing is that you thought you're just going to get a flight enhancement seat, but you're going to get a seat for the flight of the soul than the physicality, and many of you will be shocked of it. And once that process takes place, you understand it. You don't need the knowledge of whatever is called the man to kill or destroy, as you have access to more. Why do you need to kill and destroy? Any other question?
Yes, we have Azar here. I think she's ready to say something. Go ahead, Azar.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, Azar.
I have one question regarding your last week teaching. And I have a couple of questions from other knowledge seekers, which I really couldn't answer, so I thought I'd bring it to you. One thing about the last week, when you said about
Rick, do you have a problem with hearing Azar, or is it just me?
Can you hear me now?
Her microphone's low sometimes. I can hear her pretty much okay now.
Okay.
Yes, sometimes it's hard to hear her speaking, and sometimes there's background noise, but it seems pretty clear right now.
Mr. Keshe, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
You're
go
good?
ahead.
Okay.
First of all, are you in the US or somewhere else across the world?
No, I'm in US, Mr. Keshe. I'm in New York.
You're back home.
Yes, I'm back home.
Okay, carry on.
One thing is when you talk about mirage, I was thinking if I give an analogy, maybe by this analogy, I make myself understand what you said, if I understood what you said. If I'm the miniature of creator and I'm a magician, what does it mean with a magician? It means I have the field, I play with the field. And then and you come to a theater and I'm on the stage and you want to watch my magician, my work. So I'm behind the scene and I have all these fields. And through one field, I create a dog, I create a man, I created Romeo, I created Juliet for you, I create a tree, I create the ocean, I create a belly dancer for you. And then you watch that. But in actuality, what you're watching is a mirage, but the actual essence is I'm holding the field. It came from those fields. So if we go back to the creator, created through all the field that comes from him, created everything, which is like everything here is a mirage, but the actuality of it, you feel he is in control. I mean, if you go back, that's the actual essence. So, and within that, myself, when I experience this, if I sit in a room and I'm sitting on a couch and suddenly I see no wall, no floor, no ceiling, does it mean all these walls and ceiling around me is a mirage that I created when I see it through my eyes, and when I somehow my soul comes out, there's nothing exists except me is sitting there with the space, but nothing is happening.
You see, when you get to these points, many of knowledge seekers will come to this point, is that when you, first of all, when you say God made you in the image of himself, is in the dimension of the soul, not physicality. A step down of it becomes physicality, if you look at it that way. But when you sit on the couch and you don't see the walls and the books and the chairs, means you're looking at it at a higher order of strength. That, as I said, it's like you got the sugar in hand, and then suddenly you put in hot water and dissolves. The sugar is still there and the water is still there. Now you can't see it because you increase the heat. With the soul, you increase the higher strength. So the physicality is still there if you go in the lower strength, but now is not visible to the man. But you, this time, if you reach that point, you still, as what I said, being between the soul and what we call its boundary and the physicality and its principal source, you're now in between. You don't see with the eye of the man. You see with the vision of the soul. But in that communication between back and forth, you translate it to the vision of no floor, because this is your soul and this is the extension of the soul. Before, the soul was in the center and you were in charge. Now, if you look at it, if this is you here and the soul in the middle, now the game has changed. You become in the center and the soul has taken. But in the communication, the soul doesn't go from the center of your physical, what we call soul, out. It still has a center in the middle. So what happens in communicating, being extended, it sees nothing, because in another strength, you will see different dimensions, but you don't see the wall and the floor, because now you are encased in it. And you're seeing what is communicating to its center, that it can extend or communicate with the rest of it. So the wall and the floor are still there, but now you see it through the higher strengths of the soul. Soul has no eyes, but still communicates with the center. Your physicality is sitting here, so you translate the knowledge that you don't see any walls. It's understanding, not just, then you don't become a magician. You cannot create any magics.
So if, Mr.
You
Keshe,
are magic to yourself in a way.
if I get up at that point when I don't see anything and go through the wall, can I go through the wall, or I'm going to hit the wall?
You can do, but you do it to a dimension of the soul. This is how some people you're seeing, and we show they can grow. If you create a higher dimension, you can go through the wall. You can walk through it. Because now it's the soul which carries you, not the physicality. Now the physicality is encaged. You understand?
Yes, I completely understand.
So now it's the knowledge of the man. It's just training to be going through the enhancement unit and understanding, taking that fear out of you. It's very much when you have never driven and you get in the car. To change the gear and get ready and pull the car for the first time into the road where the other cars come, it's frightening. But once you get into it, you know how to do it, you jump out. Have you seen how this compared to the first day you sat in the car? You just get in the car and you drop. Ooh, the other car's beep, boop, oh, I know I'm going to be safe. You're not going to hit me. I'll carry on. We learn. And part of the teachings and these technologies we deliver is to teach man how to trust and be able to go through that point. We take you with the dimension of physicality into enhancement unit, and many of you will walk out of it as a soul. Many of you will claim, your families, your friends claim, oh, he disappeared, our family, blah, blah. But you're sitting there and watching, and you decide, you invite him to the soul, I'm with you, I'm sitting in the house. Do you want me to show you I'm here? You move a table, you move a chair, then you become a magician. But then they understand that at level soul, they go into the machine to be at your level. Magics become understandable because you go a higher level. Then you find out if you can go even stronger than that, at the higher strength of the soul of the man, with a deeper strength, then you can reach even galaxies. Instantaneous communication and transportation, translation, you do it through your soul. If there are people who cannot do it, we still give you the spaceship. The space is created by the enhancement unit. The ship is the soul of the man. You have to sail it where you want to. And that's the whole purpose of the teaching. You are the captain. You are the sailor. And then you have to decide. We just provide for you to understand the dimension beyond the physicality.
And Mr. Keshe, my other question is regarding, we were discussing on Friday the section of the brain that has to do with emotion, because
all of your brain is connected to emotion.
Because
there's not a single piece of it.
You said there was a section of the brain that is a horseshoe shape. That when you go to a space, we have to protect that part, because any interaction of the field with any layer of that section can also bring you to demise. So you might feel something, yes. You might jump into something, yes. But you dissolve yourself, you die.
No.
The question is, what's the anatomy of the...
No. That's when we speak in that level, we speak about the dimension of the field of strength. That part of the brain is millions of kilometers distance between the Earth and the Sun. Through putting a thicker filter, we condense it for the energy to transfer, to reduce, to become at the strength of the field of the matter state, to understanding of the emotion through the gans of the structure of the body, of the brain of the man. You've got to understand the correct way. In the past, we talked very simple because it even could not be understood. Now you understand the reason. If I put a thicker shield, I reduce more field. You're a doctor. What do you do when you take an X-ray in your dental surgery? you put a big thick shield on your staff that they don't get the X-ray radiation from the machine. If you do it thinner, they absorb more. And the structure of this part of the body of the man is for a specific reason, because you have to see where it is, how it's shaped, and then what part of the responsibility operation of the man sits beyond that boundary. It's not a shell, it's not spherical. And when you look at this, especially in the world of, well, let's look at it this way. If you get that shoe shape and you have a sole here, you don't have it spherical all the way. And then you have to see this is three-dimensional, yeah? And you look at it, what sits beyond this dimension in the brain? What responsibility sits here, or we haven't understood the work of this part of the brain yet. On the other side, we can transfer vertically to any strength. When you look at the structure of the brain, it's very, very simple. You have the soul, and the layers which you have created reduces the strength of the field of the soul as it goes further. Here you have the earth. You have a heavier material, heavier understanding. Here you have just a physical mirage, Saturn and Jupiter. You have the physicality of the man here. Here you feel the emotion of sadness, here the emotion of happiness. Or in another part of the body, because you're not aware of the strength of the other field, here you feel the emotion of joy. But it's still on the same ring, but the density of the material in the brain takes part of the strength. So here you might, let's say you get 10 Tesla. Here on the same ring, because it's slightly weaker, you get 12 Tesla. But this is what I call, you're a doctor, you've been to the medical school. Get a brain and get a very sharp knife. And just let it sink and feel the emotion of the sinking, the different strength fields. All that, changing the texture, is another process of the reduction or increase of the field. It's not the same with everywhere. If you put a knife and you come up 1 centimeter down, you feel here a click, here you drop in, because it's responsible for different emotion field strength. And it's the same when you come to the process of the soul of the man, which comes in your dream time. It still goes through the same process, and it still feels, this time, they feel that way. You see, the mother, because the soul of the mother is talking to your soul, because your soul can get the message to your physicality. Now we understand the process. Now, in the enhancement units, the way we structure it, even our team are not aware of it, we're creating those layers when you sit in. And not two men will feel the same sitting in the same position. It's according to the emotion, field of the soul, and the strength of the soul. As the universal messengers and Mehdi, when we deliver a knowledge, we deliver in completion. It's for man to decipher it, and for man to understand the totality. And it's how you understand it, you comprehend it, and you deliver it to your soul, which allows the elevation of it, allow the expansion of it through different dimensions of the creation. We come from the source, and we teach from the source to eternity. It's for man to depend which part of it he wants to intercept to understand. And if you are wise enough, you can understand all of it with a flick of a finger. But limitation and prejudices is created in the soul of the man from the time of his creation to his ancestors, has created more and more fog for man to see the totality.
Mr. Keshe, another question was between the difference between the emotion of a woman and the emotion of a man. Because to me, the reason we have different emotion because of the filtration, because of anatomy, but in actuality, we created equal. Hello?
Can you repeat it? I lost you for a few seconds. The emotion between man and a woman?
Is it different?
No, it's just the response is different.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so because
there is a man who decides the physical response.
Yeah.
This is why we see some men becoming very feminine, because they decide to respond in a feminine strength, and some women behave like more than a man. As we say in Farsi, you know what we say, huh? Depends who's wearing the trousers in the family.
Yes, Mr. Keshe. Actually, I exactly think that, because when you look at the body, the right part of the body is masculine, the left is feminine.
No,
and
you can have the right body as feminine as possible and as masculine as possible.
But then how you balance it out? For example, when I look at my husband, he is more feminine, I'm more masculine. Like,
depends what's your intention. this is how, by a man being emotional does not make it feminine. It means he's more in touch, in tune with the true emotion. This is a misunderstanding and misrepresentation.
So what's the, how does someone become more feminine?
Have you ever seen two lesbians?
No.
So when you see two, especially in Europe, it's especially Dutch lesbians. You know which one is a man and which one is a female in a relationship. The male part always creates a very short haircut like a man. That physically done that. And the female side always has a long hair and behaves very gentler than there are two women that are both gentle, but she behaves more gentler than the other one, and I'm female. We lived in Western Europe, and I've seen many, many of these. And you see it. And the same with a man. The two men, one is still the two-man walk. You see it, a lot of Germans go to Thailand and bring Thai partners, men. And the women actually, the woman, the female part of the relationship behaves exactly like a woman, the way they handle their fingers and they sit, and the man behaves, I'm a macho. Why can't he do that? The same with the female. But this is how we decide how we want our emotion to be presented. In Holland, you see a lot of it. In Belgium, you see a lot of this behavior, and the skin ties in them, and they try to hide or go to a place where some of them are very open. You see it. Who says, if you give the right opportunity and the emotion to the one who's behaving very much like a female side, put in another relationship, she'll behave like a male part, and the other one will be the female. It's you who decides the emotion. This is very hard to understand for people from the East, but living in the West, we've seen so much of it, and I analyze so much of their behaviors because they're everywhere. You walk into most of the restaurants in Brussels, you see German men with the Thai partners, male, and the male is worse than the female. Behavior-wise, talking-wise, and treating like, but doesn't mean they're not two men. They do this, and we've seen with the women too. It's you who decides to what extent, and when you say your partner is more female, then you have to see how you behave trying to be a man in a relationship. Then you have to answer to that. Are you looking in another dimension and direction, emotion? And feminism or manism doesn't bring. It shows the beauty of the connection and with one's soul. The rest is how we want to categorize it for us to be. That's why you have to have respect for every emotion, whatever you call it, the gays, the lesbians, the homosexuals, the straight, or whatever you call it. We have to have respect for a man in any, what we call a state of emotion. Because the beauty is in the soul, not in the dimension of physicality.
last question, Mr. Keshe, is why God decided to create female and male? He could have created one.
God hasn't created male and female. God has created the dimension of interaction that leads to creation of new dimension. You call it male and female. You have parts that it gives, and you have parts that it takes. If everything was equal in strength, there would have been no creation. It would have been just a field. The difference in different amounts or strength creates a condition of interaction. And that interaction, you call it. It's a man's vision. And we have creatures who carry both, and they can replicate themselves. And this is what I say is something for man to understand deeper about himself. So there is no division. You look at it this way, you call it Adam and Eve. Is Eve any less than Adam? Or Adam has some facets that Eve doesn't have, and Eve has some facets that Adam doesn't have. And the interaction, if you stand in the middle, you call it love. That leads the interaction of two fields to something. We call it the creation. The apple, the human. The understanding of it is important, not to go into rhetoric and all the fantasy things that's being put on. And if you look at an electron and a proton, the proton is the Adam, electron is Eve. Is Eve the proton in another dimension of it? Because there have to be a balance that they can interact. And more or less, the interaction of the fields of the electron and proton creates a lot of materials, which then get absorbed within the proton. You call it any other name you like it. If you look at it, in the process of creation, there cannot be any difference. It's man who has made this. When you have a proton and you have an electron, they have to have something in common in interaction that it leads to the, what I call, interaction of the fields. One way or the other. Doesn't matter how you look at it. And these fields interaction leads to creation of something. Leads to creation of something for man to see. On Earth, we call it electron, we call it copper and zinc falls on. These interactions creates fields, plasma fields, which some will be absorbed by this and some will be absorbed by this. In the solar system, we call it, when you have it, the Earth and the Sun. The interaction of the fields creates materials, plasmatic condition, that some of it gets absorbed back to the Sun instantaneously, and some of it, with the inertia of the Earth, becomes material on Earth. There's no difference between electron and proton. We get continuous production of plasmas from the interaction of the electron and proton, which gets absorbed within it, and then you call it, in the present science, up clock, down clock. This is the same thing as we call it copper and zinc. There is no difference. And then you change this to Adam and Eve. The interaction of the field of them leads to creation of what you call love, creation of the man, creation of the life within life. I made man in the image of myself because part of me is within the man. Would we, when we become knowledgeable enough, go into the RNA side of the plasma, through it, we'll see the true creator? And the answer is yes. Look into it and you shall see. and I'll be there to greet you. But it needs the knowledge. It needs the clarity of understanding. As long as you look in the dimension of physicality, you see electron jumping everywhere and nothing. If you scale it up, you will see the same, but you will see what comes in, earth, gold, and the rest, but you don't see the plasma you feed back to the sun from this interaction. It's the same with the Adam and Eve, the creator and created. And then how much of these fields are fed back to the creator to learn from the love of what is created? If that love was man, how much of that love becomes part of the creator as it created the man? Now we understand the true essence of creation. We don't need any religion, because nobody can lie to us, covering it under the cover of Adam and Eve and everything else which has been set for man to understand. You do experiment in the lab to replicate. The replication is the structure of the earth, the atom, and Adam and Eve. It's all the same, no difference. How many scientists have told you, when you look at the atomic structure, how much of electron and proton, they rotate around each other, but this rotation has a field interaction. What love has been created between the two, and how much of it goes to the proton and how much of it goes to electron, that they keep that love relationship. And it's true that for the first time, when Eve found the condition of manifestation of the physicality and the beauty of it, chose Earth to be the birthplace of its manifestation. Man needs a lot to understand.
And thank you, Mr. Keshe. This brought a lot of understanding. It was fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, or shall we call it a day?
Well, there are always more questions, Mr. Keshe, but sometimes we do have to draw things to an end. Is that your preference right now? Would you like to?
Do you have any other questions?
Well, we definitely have some questions in the Q&A here. We don't have any more attendees with hands up, but we have Liko, who is asking, can the mind-reading technology that you use to fly the ship be used to read another person's mind from a distance?
We don't read mind. That's your understanding, so that be it. We interact with the fields of the universe, and then how you interact with another soul and what you gather from it is your problem, is your understanding. The reading of the mind is the state of those who want to read to abuse. Interaction of the fields of the souls is what both understand at the same time of interaction. Then nobody can abuse. It's a big difference. We have not given a system to governments to control mind. We have the system delivered that the governments understand you can never control the soul of the mind. The mind is a lower level. Then this gives for man to understand is equal in all levels. Any other question?
We have a question from Paul. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Who's that?
Sorry, Rick. I didn't mean to jump in there.
Dean, go ahead.
I do have a question, Mr. Keshe. So with everything that you've just spoken about, which is explained a lot of the totality, which is once again quite incredible. Thank you, Azar, for those questions. The new video that we produced and was shown today shows an environment where the craft actually takes off and leaves physically. Would you need that environment for, let's say, a world leader to receive that unit, to be able to step into it, to experience the elevation of the soul?
Not really. John's point of view is the back of his house is the best place because it goes in Arizona desert. Doesn't need a place for it. It's where they decide to enter it counts.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
When I was talking to John, John says the best place, he sent me pictures, is the best place to fly in the back of my house into the desert, Arizona desert. And it's where Iranians tested the Iranian space technology in central deserts in Iran. Nobody could see, nobody could detect. And this was one of the ways the American drone was captured. In the desert, there is not much to see. Not many people to see, can do a lot of things. And it's the same. Unfortunately, in Austria, we don't have a desert, it's all green. We have to find another way to manifest and to show different things.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
This is what, let me explain. We talked yesterday in Rick's teaching for some of you to understand. If you go to Rick's teaching, you will hear more or less the same thing. If you notice, many of you, you look at this enhancement unit in what we call in Keshe Foundation Center. We showed the videos of it before, and we brought in and showed you new videos last week. If you remember, originally, when we showed you the videos or pictures of the center, it was very clear. And if I could bring it out, I'm still looking for some pictures. You might see it in the distance. This is the new pictures of the Keshe Foundation Lens Exhibition Center. The systems are brought down to the ground floor. There's nothing but solid flooring. And you've seen these units. They're sitting there. But one of the reasons we moved these from above, you see in this picture, to below is because these systems are active. These systems are not there on its own. When we started them off in the design center in Linz, the process started. The system is live. We see things in the Keshe Foundation research. We know things which are happening there, but ordinary people don't understand. But there is a reason why we move them from above to below. That's above where you see in the picture, and where you see the sofa below is where they be moved to, solid ground. When we set up systems, and once you trigger the egg and the sperm, you cannot stop the life cycle. And these systems are active. And we know within the research center how active they are, and we've taken action and the steps partially to overcome the next steps could happen. They are not dangerous, there are normal fields within the structure of the matter state, but they work within themselves, they don't affect outside. And we are monitoring what's happening inside them. And these are the fields of the plasmatic field. And they are part of the process of I take what I need, I don't take what I don't need. And this process now is interesting for us to see in a year time. We have sown a seed and we are watching it. And this is part of the knowledge, part of the technology development. And when you look at, as I said before, at the enhancement center, you see all the equipments which are within the latest technology of knowledge of the man. And what I call the mother sits in this vision. This is the first child, first mother of developing the space technology in Iran. Even the Iranian scientists have not understood the power of what they developed and built in Tehran over 10 years ago. But it sits within the structure of the technology. You remember I told you with one drop of water, I can create a fish. I can even create a man. Within the systems. If you understood, I don't need to create the physicality of the man. I need to create a creation which carries the soul and information of the soul of the man. The man will manifest itself in any dimension, the soul is. I don't work with cells and protons. I work with the soul of the creation and create. Then you understand. That creation might look blonde and blue to your eyes, and to an African, the same creation will be black and brown eyes. And the Chinese will see their own version. It's the manifestation of vision according to the emotion. And it'll be the same. When Mehdi comes, every religion will see it in their dimension of fulfillment, not to bring all together. And that's the problem that many of the world leaders and religious leaders have to handle in the coming time. To interpret, for them to understand what is in front of them. This is the knowledge of the creation in a physical level that man can understand. But within all the system, there is a soul. There is further more to it than present you can understand. The soul of the creator has never harmed no one, as is the creator.
Are these systems, Mr. Keshe, continuously in motion? Are they continuously creating a soul or many souls, or combination?
We are not creating souls. I'm not getting into that. It's the system has its own structure. We set it to be a structure to be equal to all. This is the essence of the creation.
And we have a star formation, Mr. Keshe.
We have every formation. Depends what suits and what one can understand. The beauty of it is when you look in what I call the depth of these pictures, when you look up into it, in the horizon of it, you see the beauty of the, what I call the knowledge, how it's shared. And when we share the knowledge, we do it in a beautiful way that, as you've been there, you've seen it. It's beautiful to see how the technology has developed and how we cover it on the banner of what we call One Nation, One Planet, and on the banner of the Keshe Foundation. We've seen it, we see it, and it's beautiful to share it. And it's for the world leaders to understand how to start working around it.
Do you think, Mr. Keshe, the world leaders will, you said you've positioned this so that you're not asking anymore, you're telling, you're showing, and when they
we are
come to
delivering, they
accept.
have to follow. We have delivered and we are delivering. The knowledge, the know-how, the understanding is for the world leaders, depending on what flag they serve, to understand what they want to do. We don't carry a flag. The flag of the Keshe Foundation is very, very clear and unmistakable. It's for them to decide which side they want to take and how they consider they want to share. We share equal. And hopefully they will see the same sooner or later.
I think they will all see this position. I think it's already taken place, Mr. Keshe, through your
it's just through the work of the Universal Council. Their soul is responsible, and it's there they set up the direction. And the way it has to be. And we will see this in a much deeper way in the coming time, where the flag of the Keshe Foundation stands on its own merit without what we call without frontiers. And this is part of what we are responsible for as knowledge seekers. Knowledge and the love of God without borders.
Thank you for bringing it forward, Mr. Keshe, and for all you've done. Thank you.
When you understand this, it becomes very easy to work. And if you understand the process of the creation and understands the structure that the creation works under, then there are no flags except the flag of humanity for us to carry. And it has been put on in a beautiful way in the past, and we'll go by it to bring it in the future. When you see how Keshe Foundation works, irrespective of time, place, and position, it brings a true reality to all of us, irrespective of what we do, where we are, and how we see it. It's the beauty of the knowledge that you can share it so freely, and you're not afraid of who listens and who copies and who shares this knowledge. And as I have said many times before, we are responsible to teach, and they are responsible to use what they've been taught the best way to serve humanity. We are not preachers, we deliver the knowledge. And they have to decide how this knowledge is used for the betterment of the human race. In a way, I can sum it up in a beautiful way. Does not matter what flag you put under, what nation. Keshe Foundation serves humanity. as we are all made of the same blood from the interaction of the fields of the universe. And if I can create blood within a container, I can create any creation. But we also on the flag of the nation of Keshe Foundation as one nation, irrespective of what other flag sits between us, because in essence, we are all created from the same blood in the physical dimension of the man. It's us who puts the difference with different colors in a piece of cloth. Depends what nation we call it. And this is over. This is over in totality because we have brought this to one thing, what stands on the left of this picture. And that is Keshe Foundation as one nation. Then the flag on the other side is literally becomes what we call different area and districts of this planet we would like to call ourselves to be part of. If you and I can make blood, we can create life. Do we need to destroy that life? And is there much to live to the life of the man? Ask yourself a simple question. If it took a simple box to create the blood to create man, what kind of life is created in the box of universe from the interaction of the fields of the creator? And what would man see in the depth of the space of the interaction of the fields which creates the bloodline of the creation and the creator in the universe and universe? Then you understand you can create life anywhere. And you can feed it with its own flow of its own fields. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Shall we call it a day? We're in 3 hours.
Yes, sure, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for participating in today's workshop. If you have any questions left over, then please bring them into the next workshop. I know there was a question or two that had previously appeared, but that can be addressed next time. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's 415th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 13th, 2022. The next public workshop that is coming up will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. Let me just get the date for that, which will be January 18th, Tuesday, January 18th, starting at 4 p.m. Central European Time. And people are welcome to attend that and present their various questions for the Universal Council and listen to the broadcasts that they put together. It's always very interesting. All right, well, I think that's it for now. I'm going to take us out with a couple of the, first of all, the GANS reactor. That's the, what's it called? A household reactor. And then we'll play the Spaceship unit. All right, just a second here while I get lined up. Okay, thanks everyone. See you in the next public workshop.